We've been on a quest recently to find out the best way to cook an awesome ribeye steak. Today, we're taking a 24-ounce, 49-day dry-aged cowboy ribeye, raw and cold, red and beautiful, and throwing it directly on a screaming hot 700-degree quarter-inch steel plate on my Weber kettle. We're gonna try and get the best sear ever on a ribeye. Check it out. Ready for this? It's time to sear us a steak. Let's get going. All right, we're at 700 degrees. I'm gonna use a piece of this homemade bacon, and I'm just gonna use it to get us a little bit of grease on this griddle, just enough to help with some non-stick. I don't wanna grease up the griddle and make it too greasy, but I just wanna do my best to see if we can keep that steak from sticking too bad. And we are going to be throwing this baby down at 700 degrees. Get ready for the sizzle. I'm going to use a cast iron skillet to press that baby down. Just listen to that sizzle. I hope you can hear it from 2 feet away. And no, I'm not wasting that bacon, y'all. Look at that. It's been on for 30 seconds. It's already looking awesome. All right, we're at about 45 seconds, I think, on our steak. I might let it go about 30 more just to make sure we get an awesome sear. And then I'm gonna flip her. We got good sear on the outside. We didn't get good sear in the middle. Let's see what we can do on this other side. Now once we're done searing this baby, and I am going to sear it on 3 sides since that bottom is nice and flat. Once we're done searing it, we're going to throw it on indirect and bring it up to 125. This baby's going to be delicious. Ooh wee, that bacon's looking good too. All right, about 30 more seconds. All right, let's sear up that bottom side. Oh baby, we got a whole lot better color on that side. See if you can see that. Man, that is looking awesome. I can't even wait to try that. Remember, all we did was salt on this one. I'm gonna taste it that way first, and then I'm gonna probably sample some seasonings on it that I'll add to it. But we wanna see what it tastes like with just salt and with an awesome sear. Let's give it 30 more seconds on the bottom, then we'll put it on indirect and finish it to 125. Grill is so hot that the juices from that steak have flaked up already into ash over on this far side. All right, pretty good sear on the bottom side. We'll throw it over here off on the side on indirect and let this griddle clean itself. By the way, you guys, this bacon, it's super thick. We weren't able to get it crispy in the frying pan when we cooked it that way. But on that griddle, really nice crisp. I don't know if you could hear that or not. That's awesome bacon. Sorry, I won't make you have a close-up of my face. I'm just trying to give you some sound effects. Good old crispy bacon, y'all. All right, it's time to taste this baby. If you've been following, you know we've been doing ribeye cooks over the last couple of videos. This is our third and final video in that series of trying to find a way to cook the best ribeye steak. Let me show you what we got. This was definitely our best sear. Starting it on the hot griddle, finishing it over, even though we finished on indirect, that indirect side was still smoking hot and improved our sear even because, you know, in order to get a griddle steel plate 750, 800 degrees, which is what we were running it at, that fire was super, super hot, and the hot air coming up around that griddle was so hot, it was making my camera heat up from 2 feet away, and the camera wasn't even directly over the grill. So even though this was on indirect, it was still getting some serious, intense heat, not flame, but very hot air coming up around it. And it got the best sear of all 3 steaks. Still, we got nice wall-to-wall pink on the inside of this baby. Good sear on the bottom side. But it's time for a taste. Let's see if that, starting with that griddling, made any difference. It's falling apart in my fingers. Here's my piece. There's more crunchies on this one. And I don't know if they're more a result of the griddle time or that super hot air time when they were finishing. Wow. Okay. Interestingly, great flavor. We only did salt on this one. We didn't do pepper. But it still has amazing flavor. I don't miss the pepper, to be honest. And even though this isn't as juicy as the one that we did last time that was sous vide'd with 4 strips of thick cut homemade bacon, that was the juiciest one. This one isn't that juicy, but it's every bit as juicy as the one we sous vide'd without bacon, which is really interesting to me because the whole idea of sous vide is you're keeping all the moisture in that bag with the meat. Can't go anywhere. However, this one we dry brined with salt in the fridge for 2 to 3 hours before I just threw it straight on a 750, 775, I forgot, degree hot plate, 1/4-inch steel griddle on my Weber kettle. Seared it up nicely for a minute, 60 to 90 seconds on each side and on the bottom, and finished it on that really hot indirect side. But it's not dry. It's every bit as moist as the one we did in the sous vide bath. That was a piece of the rib cap. What's supposedly the best part of the ribeye, the spinalis, right at the top of the ribeye. That is drier. It's not bad, but it's not as pleasant as the other 2. And I can guarantee you that's not from its time on the griddle, that's from that indirect time when I was cooking those other 2 ribeyes. And even though I was rotating this when I was paying attention to it and I didn't take it past 130, still, just the intensity of that hot air looks like it dried out the edges, but it's still delicious. So maybe finding a way to protect it next time. Still starting it, searing it at that high temperature didn't hurt it at all. But finishing it at a high temperature, next time I need to figure out a way to do that differently. Either just pop it on a different grill, make sure the coals are all on one side of the grill and have a true indirect side, or just pop it back in a sous vide bag and let it finish that way. But one way or the other, it was still a delicious steak. Inside, in the middle of that steak, it was still as juicy as the one we sous vide'd without bacon. All 3 of these steaks have been awesome. I'm glad you've joined us for this journey. If you haven't watched those previous 2 ribeye videos, go back and watch the bacon one. And go back and watch the sous vide'd one without bacon. Watch those comparisons. Really fascinating. I hope you've enjoyed this taste test. I hope you'll come back for our next experiment here at Texas 2.5 coming up real soon. Thanks for joining us for the journey. Smoke on, y'all. I mean, would you just look at the deep red purple on these beautiful dry-aged ribeyes. You cannot beat that color and that marbling. Go cook yourself a ribeye.